Hi, welcome back to Community Hotline. I'm Monica Weitzel. We're here in Gresham at MetroEast Community Media. And now we're going to talk with another Soroptimist club, just because I love them so much. I am happy to have with me Roxanne Waterman. You are the Vice President of Soroptimist International of Lake Oswego and West Linn.
Yes.
And Danielle Tudor, who is also a Soroptimist and a rape survivor activist and an advocate.
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for being here, both of you. Roxanne, maybe I could start with you. If you want to, we talked about Soroptimists in the last segment, but maybe you could tell a little bit about how West Linn and Lake Oswego maybe is a little bit different than other organizations, other Soroptimist groups. I mean, they all have the same goals, right?
Well, they all have the same goals to increase women's ability to earn money and raise their social stature. Each club has the choice to do their own thing if they want also. But there's a lot of commonality, and actually with 1,900 clubs throughout the world, it's very, very powerful.
Power in numbers, isn't there?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of women fighting for the same thing.
Yeah. I don't know how to differentiate us so much.
Or maybe how...
I wanted to talk about the commonality and the fun things they do.
Do that.
Because with 1,900 clubs, just in this area, in April 2015, 87 clubs were represented at the regional meeting in Bellevue, Washington. 87 clubs.
That's
Can
a
you
lot.
imagine that? On July 15th, July of this year, we had an international convention in Istanbul, Turkey.
Wow.
So you had clubs from all over the world. October 16th, our District 2 meeting is coming up, and that is 28 clubs. And we're going to be meeting at Skamania Lodge in Stevenson, Washington, and we want to see both of you there.
I'm still on the fence if I can get out of some other commitments, but it's a beautiful area up there, too.
Zip lining, 2-hour zip line.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
Golf.
I like golf.
And then in February 2016, we're having our area meeting. It'll be in the Portland area. The location is to be determined. There's 9 clubs that'll be participating in that, and one more. On the 6th, in April 2016, we'll have our Northwest Regional Conference in Spokane, Washington at the Davenport Hotel, which is a gorgeous hotel.
Okay.
So,
So I have to put that on my calendar then,
Yes.
since I'm now a Soroptimist too.
maybe this differentiates us. We meet the first Wednesday of every month, 10 months out of the year, with the exception of July and December. And Danielle Tudor is a very active member in Soroptimist, and I think you're going to discuss the statute of limitations, aren't you?
So Danielle, you joined the Soroptimist last year.
Yes.
And you became involved because you were asked to be a speaker at one of their, was it at one of their meetings? Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was. And like a lot of people, I hadn't heard of Soroptimists, and the first thing that you hear people, people say, who is that? Who are they? And so learning more about them and what they do, I knew it was a cause that I really wanted to support. You know,
So
sometimes, sometimes life gets busy and you can't attend all the meetings and all of that, but you know what? They know they have my support, and any way I can help them, I am more than happy to do it.
Well, and what you do really aligns well with the mission of the Soroptimists, because
Absolutely.
you as a rape survivor, as an advocate for victims' rights, it all lines up.
It does.
Tell me a little bit about what you've been doing then in that area, and the statute of limitations. Tell me what's going on with that.
On February 2nd, I made a trip down to Salem, and I met with Representative Barker, and I asked him if he would sponsor legislation to change the statute of limitations here in Oregon on rape. And currently, in 2009, I was part of a legislative push to do away with the statute of limitations on rape when there's DNA evidence. So Oregon currently has no statute of limitations. Okay, so what we did is we went back to change the 6-year statute of limitations. You know, many people in Gresham are familiar with the jogger rapist case and Richard Gilmore. The reason he wasn't prosecuted for 8 of his 9 rapes was because of the statute of limitations. And you know, I didn't. Yes.
You know,
you know, you had 8 women who did everything right. and we were locked out of the justice system, and that should never happen to anyone, especially when you've done everything right.
Right.
So that was a real passion of mine this last legislative session. So we actually came out with 2 bills, one on the Senate side, one on the House side, and they were both asking for 20 years or an elimination of the statute of limitations on rape. What we ended up with was 12 years because we had one state senator who basically took over the legislation and decided that he would cap it at 12 years.
Just arbitrarily capped
Yeah.
at 12?
Yes, so we got an extension to 12 years. That's better
Which
than
is,
6.
yeah, it's certainly better. Yeah.
Right, but the job is not done yet.
So you'll keep fighting to make that.
You bet I
to
will.
Get rid of that.
Yes, there's a legislative work group that will be convening this fall, so I'm applying to be a part of that. You know, we've got a lot of issues here in Oregon. You know, when we're number 2 in rape, we're number 2 in sex trafficking, we're number 2 in sex offenders per capita.
That is not, those are not
No.
figures I'm proud of.
No, they're not. And you know what? It takes people standing up and pushing back and saying, you know what? We have got to make some changes to stop the direction that this state is going. And that's one of them. And that is a vision of Soroptimist as well.
Right.
You know, women's issues. It's not primarily a women's issue, but the majority in sex crimes is a women's
Right.
issue. Yeah.
So this is just an opinion thing, but do you feel that the fact that being on the I-5 corridor and that there's so much human trafficking contributes, is that a large contributor to the problem of rape and being so high in Oregon?
You know, it's interesting you asked that because I think I've heard that as I've watched programs and stuff. I think I've heard it mentioned, you know, that I-5 corridor that runs from top to bottom here, that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
But, you know, even in gangs, if the number one way they're making money now is through sex trafficking, that's stunning. And I think,
scary.
yeah, that's something
scary.
we really need to pay attention to because we're talking young girls.
We're talking our children and
Yes.
our grandchildren.
And
We
I
are.
want to mention our ports are part of that human
Our
trafficking.
ports, of course, yeah.
Bringing
Yeah.
in and sending out.
Yeah.
It's really, it can be overwhelming to think about, and when you initially think about it, at least my first thought was, what can I do as one person? But when we group together, when we band
You
together,
can.
we can make a difference like you have done.
You bet
I mean,
you can.
on your own have done a lot. You've accomplished a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean that I haven't been met with some rejection
I'm sure you
a time
have,
or two,
yeah.
but you know, you always are left with that decision. Do I shrink back and go back into the shadows and remain silent? Or do I just throw my shoulders back and go, you know what? Okay, I'm going to keep moving forward. And
You've got power.
Yeah,
You've got
that's
power.
my
Embrace it.
personality. I'll
Yeah.
throw my shoulders back and go, you know what? I'll take that hit and I'll keep going.
So that attitude probably helped you get through the whole rape situation, because you're a rape survivor. I mean, that would be,
Yeah.
and you were young, right? How young?
I had just turned 17. Yeah, so it was a very rude awakening in my life. You know, I was in my senior year, and you know, we were opening the David Douglas Performing Arts Center, and it was just a wonderful time. And then to have that happen,
And you were in your own home, is that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I was home alone, and the stranger, you know, broke in. And actually, when he kicked in our downstairs door, he didn't have anything on his face. And so we just locked eyes. And then he turned around and went back out through the garage. And I thought he left our home, but he hadn't. You know, I ran upstairs to my parents' bedroom to call law enforcement. And he came back into our home, and he basically hunted me down in my childhood home. And that was my worst fear as a girl growing up. I was always afraid of the dark, you know?
Yeah.
And I was also that
Oh,
girl,
man.
I was that girl that was saving herself for marriage. So there was a lot that was taken from me that night that I could never get back. And you know what? It's trying to push through and somehow get your life back. And you know what? You can. I'm not here to tell you it's easy.
Yeah, oh no, I'm sure it's not.
Yeah, but you can.
You've taken a really horrific experience and pulled what good you could out of it by learning to, you know, share that with others. And I think that just sharing that story, probably at first that was really, really hard.
Oh yeah, there are still some times when I share it where, emotion overtakes you, because I don't think you'll ever get away from that.
No, probably not.
So sometimes it's easier, you know, than others. But I'm certainly, what I'm doing now is nothing that I ever thought I would be doing. You know, when I left trial in '87, I somehow knew I had to get my life back, because going through trial was awful.
I bet.
And to get a call 20 years later and say, hey, will you be a named victim and attend a parole hearing? I never expected that, you know.
So is that what was the impetus for you to get into the advocacy work? and
Yeah,
activism?
it was. That opened the door, and you know, quite honestly, I said no.
Oh, you did say no,
yes,
huh?
I said no. I didn't want to do it because
it brings up judges up all
it
those
does.
memories.
You know,
I would imagine.
every rape survivor is afraid as they get down the road, if they go back to that experience, who are they going to find? And if I go back into that black pit that was such an awful time in my life, am I going to come back out? And quite honestly, I was afraid of that. And what I want survivors to know is you're not the same person down the road. You are not. And you know what? I know my offender never bargained on the fact that I would grow up and be able to fight back. And that's exactly what I'm doing.
What a great feeling that must be. I mean, that's very empowering right there.
Right.
And
I'm so
also,
proud of her.
I know. I know. It's a wonderful thing, and for you to be able to share that with others and give them that hope that they can get through it too.
Yes, there is light
That's
at
really
the end of
important.
that tunnel.
Yeah.
There is.
That's wonderful. So, how do you use this in Soroptimist? I mean, you were a speaker there, but in what other ways? What are the programs that you've been involved in with Soroptimist that address those issues?
Well, you know, I think there's interest in Soroptimist maybe perhaps getting involved more in some of the legislative issues, which I think would be awesome, and would love to be a part of that.
Group and go down.
Yes, yeah, because there are a lot of issues when it comes to sex crimes. It's not just, you know, statute of limitations on rape. There was actually a lot of legislation this last session that had to deal with sex crimes, from privacy issues to the statute of limitations to how college campuses are handling it. So, you know,
there is a lot going on, isn't there, now that you mention it?
Yes, there's a lot going on in our state right now. A real push almost in victims' rights when it comes to this area, because it's an area that's been so shrouded in shame. And we're peeling off those layers and saying, you know what, the shame is not a victim's to carry. It belongs to the perpetrator. And I think the more we get that message out there, we can get more survivors that will actually come out of the darkness and into the light and say, hey, this is what happened to me. And it's very empowering. And I have never heard anyone ever tell me, in women that I've talked to after I've spoken, I've had a lot that have come to me and said, you know, this happened to me and I've never told anyone. And I will tell you, the regret is always that they didn't report it. I have never had someone that's reported it say, I wish I didn't.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's an interesting perspective.
Yes.
If more women would hear that,
yes,
you know, that's
well, because you can't see beyond the here and the now. You're looking through a single lens at the time that it happens, and you're not able to see that bigger picture and who you're going to grow up and become, and look back and go, I can fight back now.
Yeah.
I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The work you're doing is amazing, and through Soroptimist, it's a way to get the word out more. We're just about out of time. What else do we need to know about Roxanne?
I wanted to mention the Live Your Dream Awards, which was mentioned previously. There is a way to apply for the award virtually, and I believe there's an address that is up on the screen.
Okay.
And
We'll get it up there
it
if
has
it's
a
not.
zip code on it, and it'll go into Soroptimist International, and they'll reroute it to the club nearest that zip code.
So who can apply for these awards?
Female head of house.
Female head of house.
Going for a higher degree than high school. It could be a trade school,
Okay.
community
be
college,
Four-year college, whatever.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not masters, not
okay,
an
not
advanced
master's or
degree.
PhD, but
And we also our club has till November 15th to get those in, which is a little longer than mentioned before, and might be important. We're also in our grants period. We give grants to nonprofits that do human work and human rights work, and please email that Soroptimist email if you're a nonprofit and you want to be considered for a grant, and we'll get you a grant application. Our kitty's going up. We've had some great sponsors for Harvest Festival, which is the 19th of September, and that's our main fundraiser. And this is how we rechannel that money back into the communities through the Live Your Dream Awards and grants to nonprofits like CASA, Girl Scouts, Clackamas Women's Center, Children's Center,
All organizations
Life Skills.
working with women and children and youth.
Yeah.
Well, we're out of time, and I appreciate so much you sharing all this information with us. So I hope that it's an inspiration to women out there, and that they will consider getting involved in either Soroptimist or an organization that is trying to make the community a better place and empower women in our workplace and socially too.
Yeah.
Thank you both very much.
Thank you, Monica.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed it like I did, and I hope you're also inspired. And don't go away. We'll be right back with the Gresham Historical Society.
Have you ever wanted to create a TV show of your own? Come check out the basic editing class at MetroEast. Our trainers will give you the skills you need to flex your creative muscles. Using our state-of-the-art IMAX and Final Cut Pro 10, you can work with your own videos, add graphics and music, and even drop in cool special effects like green screen and slow motion. The best part? No experience is required. All ages and skill levels are welcome. Find out more on our website at metroeast.org.